Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever in the world that you are. Welcome to the BCJ Minicast episode. These are going to be shorter form discussions, usually revolving around much smaller topics than what we usually have. Joining me today is going to be the Walking Shit Post, Brad Lauer. Say hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
And the group punching bag, Corey.
Hi.
And of course, I am your host, the group douchebag, and much loved for it, Jay. So, today, I believe on the agenda, we are going to be talking about the first games we ever played or that we remember playing as children. I think this will be a fun episode, especially talking about those early childhood memories that some of us just can or can't remember. So, Brad, what was your first one?
My first one I remember playing was Halo 2 in my cousin's basement on the original Xbox.
I remember playing Halo 2 back in the day, but that was far from one of my first games.
I was probably 9 or 10.
Hmm.
That was like we were playing through the campaign, and my cousin decided to skip the tutorial on our
Oh,
co-op campaign on Halo 2.
I could definitely see how that would be a problem.
It was a problem. Yeah, and Halo 2 is not the campaign that you want to start. I think we were playing. I want to say we were only playing on like normal, but it was
But
it
even
was
then, for somebody that like this is their first like game, that's a bit of a reach.
it
Halo pun.
it was quite a reach. But anyway, it was incredibly hard.
Yeah, like I mentioned in the last podcast, I've played just about every Halo game except four, and I own five. Not impressed by it, but I remember playing Halo 2, and well, not exactly playing Halo 2 by what do you want to call it? With consent. I was kind of forced to play it by other people, and I think that kind of soured my taste for Halo, if I'm going to be honest.
That's fair. That's fair. It's one you want to go into willingly, because otherwise you're screwed. I
Yeah,
I was I was unfortunate enough that was the game that my cousin wanted to play, and for just to set the backstory a little bit. My cousin's about 10 years older than I am,
oh my.
so
I
it was basically, I mean, it was one step above him just handing me a controller that wasn't plugged in.
so
he was
we
he was carrying me through that campaign because I didn't figure out until
At
about,
least it was plugged in.
it was plugged in, but I mean it was to the point, it took me about 2 hours to figure out how to throw a grenade.
you want to hear a funny story about what I have for Halo 2?
Yes.
So back I believe when I was in like 4th grade, my family got an Xbox, and I think my mom found it in like a storage unit because my mom was into that type of like going into storage units and reselling stuff. So we got an Xbox, and we got Halo 2, and I never played it. I wasn't really allowed to play it for some reason. So, I had Halo 2 within my grasp, but I never played it. But I was like playing like Diamond and Pearl on my DS back then. So
I mean, to
was
be fair, Diamond and Pearl are decent games.
yeah.
Not as good as the third gen, but
Definitely the gen that I probably spent the most hours on was Gen 4.
Really? I was like, once I got Pokemon Emerald and spent far too much time playing Emerald. To like, I completed the Pokédex and
I
was
was
about,
gonna say, Gen 3, you could really lose yourself in Gen 3. There was just so much to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
Battle Frontier. the fact that they didn't bring that back for Omega Sapphire and
Yeah.
it, or Alpha Sapphire and Omega
Omega
Ruby,
Ruby.
it was the largest letdown of the 6th gen. I mean, the Battle Frontier, like the 3rd gen Pokemon games were the first one with a legitimate like post game. Like
Hmm.
you could, I mean, you beat the game. You've got about 40, probably around, average player 20, 30, 40 hours in the, into that playthrough. Uh, I when I deleted my original Emerald save, I had like 300 hours in it,
Oh my.
and it
Damn.
That
was,
sounds about right, though. Honestly.
and I mean,
Yeah.
it was all post game stuff. And
Hmm.
because I mean, I brought like I used to go to this summer camp. Everyone was obviously like real big into Pokemon because we were young. Walking, with the Game Boy SP and stuff like that, walking around, that's all kids did was just play Pokemon. So that's all I did too.
I mean, Pokemon was great, especially for kids, because it's easy enough to understand and get. It's not too complicated, and I remember spending many hundreds of hours playing Pokemon as a kid.
Yeah. Did you guys learn how to read Braille to unlock the Reggies?
No, I just found that. I think I was at a Kmart whenever I found a game guide that told me what to do, and I just read it and I was just like, "Oh, I'll remember that," and then I remembered it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did not have to learn Braille. All I needed to do was find someone else had already gotten the Reggies and have them walk me through what to do.
Yeah.
That
But
was an interesting concept that they brought in for the Reggies. You have to read Braille, but you can't even feel it the way it's supposed to be
Yeah.
read. You have to look at it.
yeah, yeah. The only people who know how to read Braille aren't going to be able to play the game.
Yeah, because the people that read Braille are blind. They
Yeah,
can't
that's
read.
generally the people that know how to read Braille, Corey. The blind
Yeah,
people
I
that
mean,
can't play
I
games.
never learned how to read Braille, Corey, because while I am legally blind, I am not actually blind.
To be fair, there is one blind gamer. He plays usually first person shooters. He's very interesting to watch because he plays based on sound, and it is. I've watched a couple of his things. It's really interesting. He's actually like gotten kills in like Warzone and stuff like that. It's kind of insane, to be honest. The
Nice.
fact that our sound engineering in games is so advanced that people that literally cannot see are able to pinpoint and fight enemies.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely a credit to the quality of video games and stuff like that. But I mean, to be fair, I think a a fish on Twitch just beat Steven and in one of the 3rd generation games.
Yeah. Monkeys and typewriters. They did
Yeah,
it. It did in fact beat Steven. It took like 3,000 hours, but yeah, they did beat
I mean,
Steven.
come on, man, it's a fish.
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody knows that fish are special.
The infinite monkey theory has been proven.
Yeah.
I think it took 4 fish.
See, that's the thing, right? It's not even a theory; it's just kind of a law at this
Well,
point. We
it
know it's
is.
true.
It's been a law, but no one actually like went out and tested it. And then some dude in Japan set his fish up on a Twitch stream and then left it for 3,000 hours, and it eventually beat the game.
Congrats to that final fish.
Yeah,
Yeah, what a legendary fish!
Yeah.
that fish needs to go like in a museum or something.
Yeah.
I think so. Gaming greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Corey, what was your first game?
My first game that I actively remember that I like played was San Andreas, and I remember it. I was down in Fort Lauderdale in a hotel or an apartment, and my stepbrother brought his PlayStation 2, and he bought San Andreas, like earlier that in that time period, and I played San Andreas. But if I remember correctly, I think I did play like Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Mm.
before then, but that's the part of my childhood that I cannot remember because I was like 4 or 5, and a lot of stuff has happened to me since then.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But
So how did you how was young Corey at dealing with all the RC quests?
the funny thing is, never really played any of the story missions. When you're that young, you just kind of get enthralled in. I can do all this evil stuff, and nobody can stop me. I did.
I mean, I think that's how most people of that age play
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto.
I
I just
do.
remember when one of my friends in fifth grade had a PSP and one of the GTA games on his PSP, and I remember just watching him over over his shoulder, just like run police officers over, and thinking like, how did the video game get away with this?
But the first game that I do remember actively playing the story would be True Crime New York. Like I actually did play through the story on that game.
What's that? I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, as I say, I've not heard of that one either.
True Crime is basic. True Crime New York is basically like I actually like went back because I remember the name. I went back and like watched a little bit of a walkthrough of it. True Crime New York is basically your father, who is the head of a gang family, got sent to prison, and your character got backstabbed by one of your father's like top officials, and there was a
Think
cop that there was a detective that say that basically kind of like mentored you after your father went to jail, and you become a detective, and basically you go through your former crime family and start to take them down. It was a very interesting game because you're still a cop, but you're still enthralled like being a gangster. It's basically kind of a knockoff GTA, but
Okay.
you are actually a cop. So yeah, it was an interesting game. Like I don't really remember all that much of it, but I do remember finishing the story. Uh,
Okay.
I used a 45 and a 50 caliber handguns.
Okay then.
Yeah,
the
I do. I
first
do.
the first game I think I ever like actually completed like a storyline for, like sat down and completed, it was probably Advance Wars 2.
Dude, those last missions were really tough. Those were
Incredibly
really
tough.
tough.
I mean, I was in elementary school. So I mean like an
Same here, yeah.
elementary schooler trying to take on some of those story missions. Like I remember the last Blue Moon one where you have to like blow up the base with the giant cannon,
Yeah.
those were tough. I mean, like
Yeah, they were.
I think I need to sit down like on an emulator, dig out my old SP or something like that, sit down and see if I can beat them as an adult.
I mean, I beat them all as a kid. I even went through and I did them on the higher difficulty.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was called. But yeah, there were two difficulties. There was the normal one, and then there was the like the really difficult one.
Well, no, I
And
mean,
I beat the game on both difficulties.
I definitely beat the game as a kid, but I don't think there was any when I sat down and did it as a kid. There was no strategy involved. It was legitimate, just like grinding,
Mm.
like literally, like bang my head against this wall until it cracks, and then move on to the next mission, which will probably take another 500 turns.
Oh
I've
Jesus.
I've never beaten it. I've never beaten it as an adult. The last time I beat the game, I was probably like sixth or seventh grade. And I mean, I'd be very interested to see how how the difficulty is, how beating it as an adult would go.
I kind of want to do that too. just because I love those games so much as a kid. But again, I haven't played them since I became an adult. So yeah, I'd be interested in going back and playing them and seeing how how well or how terribly I do.
Yeah, I don't know how I do. I legitimately haven't touched one of those games since I was probably like ninth grade. But I just remember being like so into those games as a kid just because they were so fantastic.
Oh, they were great. Yeah, absolutely great. Well, I guess it's my turn to talk about first games that I played as a kid, and I don't know if these are the definitive first games I played, but I these are the ones that I remember. I have memories of playing as a kid as the earliest memories, and that would be Mario Kart on the N64, and as I mentioned in the last podcast, Super Mario 64. Probably two of the greatest N64 games, like kind of hands down. Um, and what was really interesting, right, is whenever you see it a lot these days, you have a kid that's playing games and an older adult that's playing with them, and they very obviously let them win. That way, that kid can get the satisfaction of winning. And I saw that whenever I was a kid. I saw other people doing that, so I always thought that people were, that my family, whenever they'd play with me, which is very rare. Like whenever we play Mario Kart, I always thought that they were letting me win. And the one time I was just I think it was my sister who was playing. She got a little frustrated because she couldn't beat me, and that was kind of when I realized oh, they're not letting she's not letting me win. She's actually trying, and I'm just beating her. Um, and that got really reinforced with Super Mario 64 because I didn't play it a whole lot, but I remember my sister was really into it, and she played it a lot. She played it with friends as well, and they got to the final boss of N64, which is Bowser in the Sky, which is considered one of the which is just very difficult, especially in that generation. Um, but they got to Bowser in the Sky, and no matter what they did, I think they spent a couple of days trying to beat Bowser in the Sky. And I did not play Super Mario 64 all that much. I'd played it a little bit in some of the earlier levels, but I picked it up one day after they were done playing, and I think it was on my fourth or fifth attempt I beat him. And I remember telling her that, and she just didn't believe me. Just did not believe me that I was able to beat him, and I did. And then it was shortly after that I started, I played through the whole game myself, and again, and I beat him again after a couple attempts. And again, I'm only, I think, 6 or 7 at this point. And that was whenever I realized, oh my gosh, video games are so much fun.
I mean that that game was so tough, especially as a kid.
Yeah, it was tough, but it never ended up really being that difficult for me. Um, and that's kind of one of the things I found out is I'm very good at learning how to play games. I'm terrible at them when I start, but I can pick them up very quickly.
I'm the opposite. I'm very bad when I start, and then it takes me so much time to get better. It's not even funny. I it took me I oof, probably like close to 20, 25 times to beat Bowser.
I mean, he's not easy.
No.
I mean, I've gone back whenever I was a teenager and I played Super Mario 64 again, and I would had some difficulty, but it usually didn't take me more than 1 or 2 attempts.
Yeah, no, I'm especially like switching systems and stuff like that. There's a big learning curve for me. It's just the
Oh
way
yeah,
my
if you
brain
switch systems,
operates.
yeah, if you switch systems, and that's all down the shitter.
I
Yeah.
think I think I'm middling between you two. Like I think I can start out pretty decent in games. but it will take me some time to actually get good at games. Like I can't like it will
Get
take
good.
yeah, get good scrub. But yeah, I think I'm a bit middling when it comes to some games, but like what like not playing like Call of Duty for months and then coming back and being able to just pick up right where I left off. I think that's a trait that I have where I can just go back into that mindset and just pick it up like where I never left off.
Yeah, it Call of Duty is one of those games where it's like you never if you've played one, like the controls are similar enough that you can jump right back into it. Like I
Yeah, and the mechanics as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean I haven't,
riding a bicycle basically.
yeah, sort of. Same with Halo. I mean the controls haven't changed since like the first one.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, most first-person shooter controls are all basically the same. I mean, there might be one or two things that are different, and there might be a different mechanic or two, but they're all pretty similar.
You know what I find difficult? When you play very similar games but very different controls. I remember that, like I'm like switching from Witcher 3 to Ghost. Like it took some time because you're trying to hop onto like Roach, but you're pressing the wrong button because you think you're playing Ghost when you're playing The Witcher 3 or trying to hop.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a bit difficult then. I'm just like, oh no.
yeah, I have a hard time switching from Dark Souls and Bloodborne to Nioh, which are games that are in a very similar vein, but the controls are all different. It really is kind of annoying because in a lot of games, you on the PlayStation at least, you use the circle button to dash, or to run, or to dodge. On Nioh, that button is X.
That's weird.
well,
Hmm.
the
And here's the thing, right? So they allow you to customize your buttons. There's one button they do not allow you to customize, and that is the circle button.
Oh no.
Yeah, because the circle button is the default interact button, and they do not allow you to change it.
Uh
So that means you can't even set up your buttons to be the same. They have to, your dash, your dodge, that's all going to be different. The other thing that like Dark Souls Bloodborne, R1 is your fast attack, R2 is your slow attack, and instead on Nioh that is your square and triangle.
yeah, like your typical hack and slash games.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh, I don't like that because these are not hack and slash games at all.
Well, the biggest thing, like for me, then no, you're absolutely right. But like the biggest thing for me was going from console to PC, playing some of the same games from like on a console, and then switching to PC after not having a PC for
A long
years and
time.
years and years. Getting used, like The Witcher 3, like I can't tell you how many times I died, like in The Witcher 3, just because, like, oh, I know what button this is on a controller, but then move into like mouse and keyboard.
I remember we were in a call while you were trying to learn that, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, I'm sitting there talking to Corey. We were on a Discord voice chat, and I'm sitting there playing. He's watching me play The Witcher, and I'm like, "What's the parry button? What's the parry button?" as I'm as I'm as I'm in a boss fight, just going like, uh,
Well,
sitting
I
there
Yeah, I
like,
know that's one of the struggles of switching.
yeah,
I
well
mean,
I
It's one of
even
the reasons why when I eventually got my rig, um, I tried to learn how to use mouse and keyboard, and after about 3 or 4 months, I just gave up. And I was just like, screw this, I'm just using a controller.
yeah.
that probably would have been the smart thing to do for me. But I was sitting there like, oh, if I'm going to be a PC gamer, I got to play mouse and keyboard, man. Like that's that's how
I
these
mean,
Well,
there's
games.
there's some games I'll play mouse and keyboard still, but like
strategy
if it's a
games.
well, obviously, but I mean like if I'm playing Planet Side 2, I'll use mouse and keyboard. But if I'm playing like The Witcher, or there's a couple other ones I can't think of right off the top of my head right now. But if there's a couple other ones that, like if I'm playing Dark Souls on my PC, or if I'm playing The Witcher, I'm using a controller. I'm not messing with mouse and keyboard because I've played those games for tens, if not hundreds of hours with a controller. I'm not going to basically lose all of my skills to switch setups when there's really no reason to.
Well, unless you're a purist like me, which I have to relearn games every time I get one on PC. A
Yeah.
PC
lot of
master race,
yeah,
PC supremacist.
yeah, I've had a PC for like 5 months, and I'm already looking down on people, and they're like, "Ooh, the PS5's coming out," and it's like, ha 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 ha. Ha.
Yeah, I
But
mean, once I start getting to Fallout New Vegas, I'll have to learn how to use it on PC as well, on mouse and keyboard as well, because there is no
Yeah,
controller
whenever
support.
whenever I got New Vegas, I just went straight into the mouse and keyboard, just because they're like the mechanics for basically all Fallout game are pretty terrible whenever it comes to like aiming anyway. So you
I'm
might as
having
well just go for it.
I got Fallout 4 on the PC after playing it on console only for about 500 hours, and
Hmm.
there's a big difference shooting with your mouse as opposed to shooting on a controller. It's so much easier.
I mean, yeah, I mean, generally using mouse and keyboard is known as being easier for like first person shooters.
Yeah.
Like
But,
that's not come on, Brad. That's not even a hot take. That's just common knowledge.
Oh
well, I know,
yeah.
but I mean, literally everything else changed. That was like the other thing too. Is like the first thing I booted up on the PC on the PC version of Fallout 4 was a survival playthrough. So learning the buttons and learning how to survive
Yeah.
made the game way, way, way tougher than it needed to.
Really putting yourself in a stressful situation there now, aren't you, buddy?
I'm sitting there losing hair. I can feel hair falling out as
you're
I'm moving through the
you're
starting area.
you're
Oh
aging
man, it sounds like
years
a
within
personal problem.
seconds.
Yeah, I've definitely aged. I've got some gray hair now that wasn't there when I started this playthrough.
Man, don't even talk to me about aging, dude. I feel so old these days. I reference things at work that, to some of the younger people that work with us, and they're just like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of that before. I'm just like, oh my god, you were born in 2002? What?
Yeah. Seems
Ah,
seems so short ago, but
you're an adult and
yeah.
you were born after 9/11. You don't understand like what pre 9/11 life was like. Like I still remember pre 9/11. I remember 9/11. Um,
Well, that's the thing.
things changed. Things
I
changed hard.
with my beard, I look way older
You
than I
do.
actually am.
You
For,
do. I
for my
remember the
like,
first time I met you, I thought we were either the same age or you were a year or two older than me.
yeah,
Same thing with you, Corey.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were older than me.
yeah.
With
No, like I meet people and they're just like, because one of the things I used to live in a college town, so despite not being in college, used to go to a lot of college parties. So I was around the same age as these people going to the parties, and I would get like weird looks, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably because I look about 30 years old at an 18-year-old's birthday party.
yeah. People like people at work always thought like I was like in my like mid to late 20s when I was just 18.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
that's the nice thing about having being able to grow a beard since like I was 18 or 19. It's just like you look way older than you are. Like I can't like I'm 23 and I can't remember the last time I've been carded.
Oh yeah. We meet when at one time at work, legitimately the oldest person there, like when we all went out to get drinks, the oldest person there got carded. It was the
Wow.
funniest thing because
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
nobody else
if
got
you look at the
carded.
three of us, if you were ever to look at a picture of the three of us, Jordan might be the baby face of the group.
I've always been told that too. That's the thing, right? Like as I've gotten older, people have always underestimated my age, especially if I'm not wearing facial hair at the time. Um, like I've gone clean shaven quite a bit, especially recently during the summer. And people think I'm a lot younger than I am, but like whenever I was a bit younger too, if I had facial hair, I looked a lot older. And so, I've always been called a baby face.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact opposite of a baby face. I
You're an old man face.
I have old man face. Yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Wait,
I shave my beard and immediately lose like 10 years.
yeah. Well, I can never really shave my beard again. It takes so
No,
long.
it's no. You just don't look right without facial hair, man. You look genuinely terrifying, just like Zach, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I never want
Zach
Zach.
without facial hair is legitimately. You start checking the sex offender registry just to make sure that somebody hasn't taken his place.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Corey, I remember you without hair too. That was bad, man.
Oh, I hated that. I hated that. I hated not having hair.
For our listeners that do not know, Corey had cancer. Would you like to share anything about that cancer, Corey?
I
I don't
have
want to
a
give away too much.
I have a man down.
Uh, so if you don't know what that means, it was testicular cancer. His sac is half full.
Yeah,
Um,
the offer's still on the table, Corey. I will 3D print you a noodle.
I'm good.
Anyway, so during that time, undergoing chemo and stuff like that, Corey was obviously completely hairless
Yeah.
and looked terrifying, to say the least, as somebody that had only ever known him to have one haircut and the same beard um, for years.
Yeah,
For years.
Oh
he just
yeah.
looked so wrong without either
Cue
one of
ball.
those things.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah.
was very strange. Then, eventually, it did come back, and
It's like
yeah.
it was like shaving a husky. It's not.
I you what like the New Year's party, that's like when my hair actually started to grow back and I was so fucking happy about it because it was like only like like I think my hair started growing back in December and I ended my sessions in October, and that was actually pretty quick because I asked my nurse like, when do you think my hair will start growing back, and she said like, I don't know, March maybe. And I was so happy that it only started to grow back in like 2 months. And
I was
so
gonna say that was one case where you're pretty fortunate.
yeah, so like now like I'm just like, not gonna shave again. Not gonna shave my head again, not gonna shave my hair, my facial hair again. No, I do not look right. And besides, if I do shave my facial hair, it starts growing in outlines. It doesn't grow in full anymore. It just grows
Uh,
outlines. And that does not look right.
no, oh god, no, that doesn't. How long have you been cancer free now, Corey?
My mom texted me on her or like around her birthday, like in October. 2 years ago was my last session.
Nice, very nice. I would give a round of applause, but it's not going to show up on this mic.
Yeah. Oh, you can kind of hear it.
Yeah, as I say, not, not really. But anyway, we're incredibly proud of Corey for beating and overcoming that, and I mean that's a tough thing for anybody to go through. But
My chemo was kind of fucked a bit. They were like, yeah, we're gonna give you this like one drug, and I like, but it fucked with my lungs, and they were like, oh, and my oncologist was like on vacation at the time, and I was going into my second session, and the person that kind of replaced him during our visit was just like, yeah, we're just gonna drop this drug, and we'll see what happens, and then the next session, the next time I visited my doctor, he goes and says, "Yeah, he shouldn't have done that. We're gonna add this other drug, and then we're also gonna add another session." And I'm just like, "Oh no!" And then my body just like my body was going well throughout all sessions, but after the fourth session ended, like my final session, my body was just like, yeah, bro, we tapping out, and I had to go to the clinic like every single day for 2 weeks, and it was not well. I wasn't. It sucked.
Whether
Yeah.
it's whether it's cancer or video games, Corey picks hard mode.
Not inaccurate.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
but
was.
yeah.
Looking back on it now, I do find it kind of funny though, like how my body was just like, yeah, bro, we were only scheduled for 3, not 4.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, that
okay,
that fourth one is not good. No good. No
yeah,
good.
So, question for you, Corey, because your first game was GTA San Andreas, which is considered one of the greatest video games of all time. At least that's what Google says.
okay.
How did that affect your taste in video games going forward, especially
I
playing it as young as you were?
um I did in fact like the violence,
Oh
but
boy.
Don't all
because
kids?
yeah, like if you give a kid like a GTA game, they're gonna enjoy the hell out of it because they
Run
can
over
do
cops nonstop.
yeah, they can do stuff that they won't really get punished for. What, you're just gonna walk out of the police office if you get busted, or you're gonna
I
wait?
if I may interject, I'm honestly surprised at this point that Rockstar Games hasn't offered to sponsor BLM. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah. literally, literally all of their games, whether it's Red Dead or GTA, like your main enemy are are the
Is
bot.
literally law enforcement. Yeah.
I do remember when GTA 5 released. I was at GameStop with my mom because 2013 at the time. I think I was like 14 at the time. My mom didn't want to get it to me because a mature rating. So I convinced her to buy a $60 PSN card, and I bought it on the PlayStation Store. And it didn't like she thought it was gonna change me, and it didn't change me at all. Like, I was having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Was
just
there's a reason I wasn't allowed to have I wasn't allowed when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to have a console or anything like that. My parents wanted me to stay gaming on like a DS or SP or whatever. It was just because the Nintendo systems didn't have like games like that. I remember like Advanced Wars was probably like the most violent video game I played.
Yeah, that was like actual like warfare, but like cartoons.
Yeah. That was the only thing that saved me because I was it took me I didn't get a real honest to god like console until I was like 15 because my parents were afraid of all the violence.
I know.
I was gonna say talking about GameStop stuff, right? So I had a bit of a funny interaction whenever I went to buy something at GameStop, right? So I was oh geez, what was I? I think I was 15, and I had my PS3 at this point, and I remember I went to GameStop with my girlfriend at the time. Again, this goes back to the age thing. I was clean shaven at the time. Um, I went to GameStop, and I don't even remember what game it was that I picked up. I picked up a game. It was rated M. I didn't even think that it was. I didn't even think about that. And the GameStop employee, asked to see my ID, and I was just like, well, I don't have an ID. Like, well, how old are you? I was like, oh, I'm 15. Like, well, I can't sell this, I can't sell this game to you, without, your parents' consent because it's rated M. You've got to be 17 or older. And he saw my girlfriend, and he's just does your mom give consent? Pointing, gesturing to my then girlfriend. And I'm just like, whoa, hold on,
Damn.
that was a very awkward moment. That was, oh
Uh,
boy.
Did you
no,
say
I
yes?
remember. I remember. I
We were good Christian kids. Obviously, she wasn't gonna lie.
well, that
Wow.
reminds me. I went to a hockey game with my mom. I was 20, 19,
Hmm.
20, somewhere like that. But I just shaved my beard, so or no, I'm sorry, I had my beard, so I looked way older than I was. And I remember sitting down with my mom at this hockey game, and my mom got to chatting with the lady in front of us, who turned around and asked if I was her husband.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
how'd that turn out?
it was. She still talks about it.
I'm guessing she thought it was a compliment
I
of some sort, based upon like, you look so young.
yeah.
They thought that she was just as young. Apparently, maybe
I think it was they thought I was way older than I was.
it could be both.
A little bit of both. I think it's left up to interpretation how you think how you interpret that interaction. But yeah, no, like I buying like video games or whatever, even like 15, I never got asked,
Hmm.
about buying rated M games or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, like honestly, like the thing, like the whole rating system is kind of dumb. Some games are definitely not rated appropriately, um, and I think one of the worst parts is that parents just are not educated on what a lot of the rating systems mean. I worked at Toys R Us whenever Black Ops 2 came out. I remember buying Black Ops 2 and playing it, and I think I got it. Oh, geez, I think the day of release, maybe the day after. I don't quite remember. This was obviously, 8 years ago. And, because I wanted to play it and I knew it was going to be a hot game. And because I worked in the electronics section over at Toys R Us, I was like, I should know about what I'm selling. And I booted up the campaign. And does anybody ever else remember the first scene from the campaign
Isn't it
For
for Black Ops 2?
Mason getting assassinated?
No, no, no. You're in a convoy. I think I'm not sure if you're in Africa or South America. I don't quite remember right now.
oh the
But you
yeah
you you literally the first thing you do is you take over control of Mason in a burning vehicle and watch your teammates get burned to death.
yeah, well, the
Damn.
dude bangs on the window.
Yeah, he's sitting there shouting at you for help and banging on the window, and there's nothing you can do, and you just watch him burn to death. So I remember, a couple parents coming in to buy it for their kid, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my kid's like 11," and just like, okay, I'm gonna tell you about the first scene in this game, and then you can tell me about whether or not you think it's appropriate for your child.
Oh,
Hey,
well,
And
a
hey.
similar story in that vein. You guys,
do you know what's really interesting? My manager at work was so proud of me for doing that. They're like, you're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is making sure that kid like really young kids are not playing these kinds of games. That's what the rating system's there for, and parents just ignore it.
well, the other thing too, it's like, yeah, a lot of people don't know what the rating system is. I remember you guys, Corey, you're not a native, a PA native, but in PA we have a chain of supermarkets called Giant Eagle.
Hey,
In
yep.
Giant Eagle, they have what's called the Eagle's Nest, which is like a child care thing. So while your parents are going shopping or whatever, they leave you in the Eagle's Nest. Well, when I was young enough for the Eagle's Nest, they had like a PlayStation and a GameCube in there. So we just like sit down and play Spyro or whatever, Mario Kart. I remember uh, one time it was literally there for one day. They put Conker's Bad Hair Day
Oh no.
in the Eagle's Nest for the GameCube, because I don't think anyone understood what the game, like what was going on, like what the game was about. They just saw, oh, this is a cute little cartoon squirrel game, so we'll put it in the Eagle's Nest. I remember playing it one time, and then the next time I was in there, it was gone mysteriously.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. What the I don't know. I wonder how many levels it took before an Eagles Nest employee was like, "Oh, you're fighting a literal pile of shit." That's what the
Yeah,
boss is.
with corn for teeth.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's bad.
Hey, just remember back in MW2, we all played that no Russian mission. We all
Yeah,
did.
yeah, that was controversial back in the day.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah.
all have issues.
Yeah, there's nothing. There was nothing. It's interesting because that was controversial. There's been a lot of video games controversies throughout the years. Um, but to be honest, I thought it was very interesting about how you could skip that mission.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of an acknowledgement, like, hey, this is kind of disturbing. Uh, you're walking into an airport with an LMG and just mowing down as many citizens as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think it should have been controversial because of the ability to skip it, because they recognize that, hey, this is not exactly you know wholesome.
Yeah.
Well, I remember playing Spec Ops: The Line for the first time, and then
Mm.
committing an actual, honest to God, war crime in the game.
I I remember I wanted, like, when Spec Ops to the Line released, I kind of wanted to play it because I'm back in the day when you're like all about Call of Duty. Like, when you're that young, you're like, oh, this is another Call of Duty type game. I never got it, and then I learned about it, and I'm like, oh no, I think that would have fucked me up.
Yeah, no, it really is like kind of crazy. Spec Ops: The Line has one of the most interesting narratives whenever it comes to evaluating the psychology of what it's like to be in those kind of situations, to explore PTSD and just the insanity of being in these high intensity situations whenever you can't really tell what's reality and what's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think it's weird too because it gets into like when I remember when I was younger, like I don't think anyone really viewed video games as like you know in the mid 2000s. I don't think anyone really. I think people stopped viewing video games as like a cause of violence or whatever. Because I remember playing Call of Duty 2.
The big
Mhm.
red one.
The big red one.
Yeah, the big red one. Call of Duty 2 as a demo, like in the middle of Best Buy at like 8 or 9 years old. They just had it set up on like the new Xbox 360 as a
Hmm.
demo. So I mean, you're literally sitting there shooting Nazis like just in the middle of a Best Buy, and no one gives a
Yeah.
like.
We
Even my
should
parents were like,
Oh
whatever.
yeah, this is fine.
It's a
we
demo."
should we should bring back that type of engagement like back in the
Maybe
day.
maybe after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely after COVID, but
Yeah, bring back the demos.
well, nowadays I think the only company that even does like the demos is
GameStop.
well, GameStop, yeah, but I mean a lot of it's like a lot of it's like new like Nintendo games. So you'll see people playing like the newest Mario or Zelda or something like that. Like
Yeah.
no one really gives out demos for like Call of Duties or Halos anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting. I was actually going through the PS store earlier today, and you would be surprised the amount of games that still have demos. It's just they're not advertised.
No, they're not.
Not in like in person
No, no,
on a
it's
system.
yeah, no, like I said, it was all in like the store, the PS store.
But
It
yeah,
was just like, holy
like
crap, I could pick up like 9 demos right here.
but no, like I would literally I would get excited to go to Best Buy. If like I knew if like my parents were shopping for like DVDs or whatever, I would always suggest Best Buy so I could go in and try a new game when I was
Yeah,
like real young.
yeah. I was gonna say, um, I mean, I always like trying to do the demos too. I just didn't get to very often because we never went to many places that had demo stations.
I mean, yeah, now like thinking back on it, I think the only place I ever played demos at was Best Buy.
I always played demos at Walmart back in the day.
I was gonna say Walmart had them. I want to say Kmart did for a time.
I take that back. Toys R Us did, but for like,
Toys R Us did. I never went to Toys R Us that much as a kid.
Yeah, you know where I never went to as a kid? I never went to
Hmm.
Build-A-Bear Workshop as a kid.
I never did either.
oh, but do I have a funny Build-A-Bear story?
Oh no!
I can't wait to hear this.
Oh no!
It's in no way gaming related, but I might save that for a longer one. It's quite a long story, but
I can imagine based upon that reaction. I have a feeling that it's quite involved.
well, no, yeah, you both know the story. I've definitely told you.
Not ringing a bell at the moment.
As I say, I don't remember what this is.
The date with the
Oh yeah, I remember now. Oh
Yeah.
You have to forgive me. My memory's not what it used to be.
You didn't expect this, did you? No, I didn't.
uh, 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 just to jog Jordan's memory without giving away the rest of the story. It was the date with that cashier from Walmart.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that took place in a Build-A-Bear.
Oh, that was funny when you were telling me this story like the day after it happened. Oh god.
Well, I remember because it was on one of my off days, and I remember coming in and Jordan literally ambushing me, asking me details because she got to him before I did.
Yeah, I had no idea what happened. I'm just like, what is going on? That does not sound like Brad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's legitimately my only memory of a Build-A-Bear.
That's not a good memory to have,
It's
buddy.
a terrible, terrible, terrible memory.
It's terrible, but it's fucking hilarious.
It's so funny now. It's really funny now, but it messed me up for like a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Because we were still working together too at the time.
yeah, yeah. No, that was messed up. That was really messed up.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'll save that for the next long cast.
Oh, that was
it's
great.
like a 15-minute story.
No, that was a funny story.
But yeah, no, like Toys R Us was where I went and got like all my like Game Boy games.
Mm.
I remember getting Emerald one day at a Kmart or a Big Lots. It was very weird, but I do remember getting Emerald from a Kmart or a Big Lots.
I got my copy of Ruby from Kmart.
I got Emerald and Advance Wars 2. Or no, the Advance Wars from Toys R Us, and I think I got Advance Wars 2 at Target.
I got Advance Wars 2 from a GameStop.
Yeah.
I had Advance Wars 2 before I had the original, and I got the original at a later date. Original's nowhere close to as good as 2, by the way. But it was still good. It was still good.
I remember enjoying Advance Wars 2 way more than the original, but I looked it up on Wikipedia earlier.
Mhm.
Advance Wars, the original,
Yeah.
was the highest rated of all of them.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. Metacritic gave Advance Wars a 92 out of 100.
Huh.
And IGN gave it a 9.9 out of 10. Advance Wars 2, Metacritic gave it a 88 out of 100. And IGN gave the second one a 9.4.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I see IGN and Metacritic give things worse scores than their predecessors, that usually means they're better.
A 9 out of 10.
Yeah, that usually means that they're better.
They called it here. Hold on, let me see. Let's see. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Uh, the number 2 in the title honestly doesn't deserve to be there. It's a classic, but it's just a $35 mission pack, and probably double the
Uh,
price it should have been.
no, no, honestly not.
Yeah, I have
There
to
was a lot
disagree.
enough different.
The
There was a lot enough different.
the second one is probably the best one out of the
Hmm.
series. Although I will say, from an enjoyment level, I enjoyed Dual Strike way more.
Yeah, I never even got to play Dual Strike. That was the thing. So I guess because we've been talking about first games, I should talk about this. My first console was an N64. Um, my first handhelds were in order the Sega Genesis, or not Sega Genesis, but the Sega handheld. I don't remember what it's called. Um, this was an old system. The Game Boy Gray, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy SP. My next console was the PS2 after the PS3 had already come out whenever I was 13.
See, so my first console was a PlayStation 3 that I had for about like 2 years after it dropped.
Hmm.
I had it for about 2 weeks and then traded it in for an Xbox 360.
Does anybody remember when the PS4 came out?
2014, the
2014?
year after GTA 5 dropped.
Okay. Because I got the PS3 in, I want to say, 2010.
Hmm.
Yeah. That I had to buy with my own money. I worked on a farm all summer basically to buy it.
I
And
think
here's the thing, right? I originally was gonna buy a 360, and my parents wouldn't let me.
I got
And
yeah, I
I
got
ended up being able to convince them to let me buy a PS3 specifically because it was also a Blu-ray player.
yeah,
Yeah,
I used that excuse once.
Hmm.
But
yeah.
no, I would have gotten mine in I got the 360 in 2013.
I got my PS3 in 2010. I got it like when Black Ops released. That's when I got
Yeah, I was gonna say
my
the
PS3.
the first two games I had for my PS3 that I bought whenever I bought the console itself was the original Black Ops and Fallout New Vegas. Those were my first two games for the PS3.
Yeah,
The
I
the, the first two that I got for the Xbox 360 were Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
Yep. And here's the thing, right? So I got the PS2 in 2000. I want to say it was 2007.
the PS3.
PS3 was already out.
Yeah, PS3 like
Um,
released around that time.
but the PS2 I got as a birthday gift from my parents. Um, and the reason why they were willing to buy it for me was because we moved that summer. And my mom, the day before we moved, halfway down the state, the day before we moved, she fell and broke her leg. And so for the preceding months between June and my birthday in August, I was doing a whole lot of the work with, around the house with like unpacking and helping her out. And I literally spent my whole summer just basically doing that. And so finally, when it came to my birthday, they decided to allow me to get a PS2 for my birthday. And for anybody that knows me, guess what my first game for the PS2 was?
Oh, I'd have to guess. Ooh, first PS2 game.
And remember, it had to be something my parents were willing to buy me.
Um, oh, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Uh,
Um,
You each get one guess.
I don't want to say it's Crash. I don't think it's Crash.
no.
Um,
Um, trying to think what was on the PS2.
My mind is going Super Monkey Ball right now.
um, I'd. That's a tough one.
That
I
is a
never
tough
I
one.
never had a PS2, so I'm trying to think what was on the PS2.
I had a PS2, but it
I
was
will give you a hint.
Okay.
This this was an iconic game series between 2007 and 2012. And then
Uh,
it kind of fell off a bit. And it's still played somewhat, but it's in a different vein. But it goes kind of by a different name now and what it's popularized by.
hmm. The only thing
30 seconds.
the only thing I can the only game that I this is probably wildly wrong, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Was it one of the Mass Effect games?
Nope.
no Mass
Uh,
Effect was on the PS3.
Corey,
Uh,
give me an answer.
I'm gonna go with Super Monkey Ball, bro.
Nope. Not even close.
Yeah, I
what was
knew it.
Guitar Hero 2.
Oh,
I should have
Like I
never.
said, anybody that knows me would know this one. For anybody that is watching that doesn't know me, I am a massive Guitar Hero and Rock Band nerd. Um, I I I'm currently ranked, I believe, in the top 500 guitar players for Rock Band 4 in the world.
Yeah. No, I should
yeah.
have known. I should have guessed. As soon as you said it goes by something different now. I was like, oh,
Yeah, no, I was drawing a complete blank.
Yep. And so here's the thing, right? So I got the PS2 and I got Guitar Hero 2. You know what I didn't get?
The guitar.
A memory card.
Oh,
oh,
So that meant every single time that I played the game, I had to play through the entirety of it
wow.
that.
in order to play all the songs. And you
Damn.
know what? I did that a lot for about 3 weeks before I got a memory card.
I remember when I was like real young, trying to convince my parents to get me a memory card for the PlayStation 2, so I could bring it in to the Eagle's Nest, so I could save my progress at the Eagle's Nest because I was sick. I was because we would end up, it was me and my sisters, but my sisters were too young to really like give a shit about video games. But I remember being pissed every time we went into the Eagle's Nest and I found out what level of Spyro I was at,
Hmm.
and remember, well, this is 4 levels ago. What the heck? Like, and then I learned about like memory cards, and I was trying to convince my parents to get me a memory card so I could save my progress for
Yeah.
the next time I went. I went and spent 30 minutes at the Eagle's Nest.
Spyro was a good game. I'll say that. I
Yeah, it
actually bought
was.
the remastered pack that came out last year.
I know. I was every time I see it like on the Xbox Marketplace, I'm like, I should pick that up and give it a playthrough. So I
Hmm.
haven't played that since I was tiny.
Really young. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the thing, though. I never got to play Spyro as a kid at all. And so whenever I saw it, whenever it came out with the 3 different games, I was just like, well, that's an instant buy for me. I always wanted to play Spyro, and I never got to.
Yeah.
That's just one
Play.
of those. That's just one of those games where it's like you forget about it until someone brings up like Spyro, and then you go, "Oh, I remember how much fun I had with that." Like as a
Just like with us with Advance Wars.
yeah.
Like, when was the last time I thought of Advance Wars? Probably years, half a decade at least.
I well, I picked it up and played it for about a I picked it up and played it for like a couple hours. I think like 2 years ago.
Mm,
But I haven't like actually sat down and played it in probably close to 6 or 7.
yeah.
But that's just one of those games where it's like I got to go back and play that because I just remember how good it was as a kid.
Yeah, no, they it was really good. There was another game series I played on the SP as a kid. Summon Night. Did anybody play those?
Nope, not
Mm.
I.
I remember my friend playing it a
You
lot.
know what? It was not a bad game. That was actually a very interesting game. Uh, that's all I'm gonna say about that. And
So
I found out recently that there's a Summon Night 6 on the PS4.
damn.
I was just like, I wonder if this is anything like the old ones. Probably not,
I'm
but
trying
I'd
to
be interested in looking.
I'm trying to think all the games I had on the SP.
Dude,
So
it's so many.
Yeah.
so you guys know that I'm a huge DBZ fan, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to know how I experienced the story? It wasn't through the anime, it wasn't through the manga, but one of the games that I played religiously on the PS2 was the Dragon Ball Z Budokai series, and
Hmm.
that's how I experienced the story. Tenkaichi 2 is my shit. I played the hell out of that game. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
there was I one again that was one of the games that like my friend had that I never did, but I remember playing. I cannot for the life of me remember the game. I don't remember it being very good, but I remember playing it like almost nonstop for probably like 6 months. It was a Godzilla game, but it was almost like a Smash Brothers like fighting game.
I know what you're talking about. I played that too.
I
I don't
can't
remember the name of it.
I can't remember the name of the game at all. If someone in the comments played it and maybe has a copy or something like that, like I would love to get the name of that because I remember putting like not being able to put it down for like 6 months.
Was it Godzilla Domination?
I don't know. Hold on.
I think so. Like I just literally looked up GBA Godzilla, and that's the only game that comes up for the Game Boy Advance. And that's what I remember playing. That's what I'm seeing, and I remember playing that game.
You're right. This is the
Yep.
game.
Yeah,
Oh my
Godzilla
goodness.
Domination.
Oh
Such
my
a weird
goodness.
game.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That I remember not being able to put this thing down.
Yeah, I mean it was not a great game,
It was like a
but
side scroller. It was like a side scroller like fighting game.
yeah, it was a weird thing.
It was so weird. There was another. This is the like for all the sports game. I had all of the backyard footballs and hockeys and baseballs and stuff like that too.
Hmm.
But that's more up Corey's lane, I think.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hey, just because I'm the resident weeb of all of us doesn't mean I play every Japanese game.
Yeah, but no, that Godzilla game. That man, that's I
If
need to
you
find that on an emulator or
if
something.
you want to talk about Godzilla, Zach would be the right avenue. Zach knows a lot about Godzilla because it involves brutality, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he likes.
yeah, yeah. No, there's a. I remember I remember that Dragon Ball Z game though too.
Oh,
That was one of my friend's favorite games.
I fucking love that shit.
I was never a big Dragon Ball Z fan.
Me neither. Not really. Like the most I ever got into it was watching him play the the game. But
To be fair, out of all of us, you're the least you don't really you don't really care for anime out of all of us.
no, I don't. And I was telling Jordan why I don't like anime the other day, or maybe like
It was a while ago.
a while ago. Yeah, it was like a month or two, and I just can't. I can't listen to animes with the Japanese audio. There's nothing I dislike more than their voiceover work.
Racist.
See, the thing is, the reason why I like anime or manga so much is because it's just a whole lot better than the media that we're having today. Because, like we said in the last podcast, they don't dwell deep into social politics. It's just the characters and their problems, not the world's problems, just their problems. And
Yeah.
so much is just focused on social justice and political shit nowadays, where it's just like it just turns you off. You don't, it's just like games and shows are just a way to escape, and for them to also be forcing all that shit that down your throat is it just gets exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. To be fair, though, I'm not. I'm also not like a big TV watcher either.
No.
So I
I'm
mean,
not
like,
either.
I don't watch like episodic shows at all, whether it's Western or Japanese or animated or not. It's just that's not my cup of tea. I'm a way bigger fan of like movies. Although that being said, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid was the Speed Racer movie.
Oh yeah, the Speed Racer movie. The Speed Racer movie is my shit. I remember I
I
was
still I
watching a YouTube video, and it was they put the Speed Racer movie over the Eurobeat song "The Top," and it was just great. I was just like, yeah, this is fantastic. It goes so well.
that I'll have to check that. Yeah, send me a link or something. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, no, I was I remember sitting at home like for like 3 days straight when I was sick as a kid, and my dad bought it for I don't know what reason, but sitting there and watching like the DVD
Hmm.
over and over and over again.
I was not and am still not very big into movies. I am a massive critic of everything, so it's very difficult for me to enjoy a lot of movies. That being said, there are a few movies that I will watch anytime, any day. I do not care. Chief among them being The Princess Bride and the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Prince,
Both absolute fantastic movies.
Uh huh. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh huh.
yeah,
I
both
don't
great
know.
movies.
I have like spurts where it's just like I will watch like a single genre just over and over and over again, or not like over and over and over again, but like I just get into like these. They're almost like rabbit holes where it's like the other day I just had like I spent like 2 days straight watching literally every single World War II movie I could get my hands on.
Mm,
Like I was watching I went from like Saving Private Ryan to
great
Fury
movie.
to other things like that,
Also a great movie.
and then ended
Yep.
up like the last movie I watched was a Norwegian independent film called Max Manus. It was about a Norwegian freedom fighter in World War II, and it's like the movie's in Norwegian with like English
Norway.
subtitles.
Oh, I think never mind. Ignore me.
But yeah, no, it's just like like that's how deep down the rabbit hole I go, and then the next time I'll then the next day or whatever we'll start like a different one where it's like every single like horror movie, or every single like sports movie or whatever. Like I just go down these weird rabbit holes where it's just like I don't even care like what I'm watching, just so long as it fits a genre.
I think the last great movie that I've watched would be a Silent Voice, but
Mm-hmm.
but the story that revolves around me and Zach during that time when I was watching it just kind of fuels me with rage, because I was basically like at the climax, I get a call from Zach asking me, did he leave his keys in my car? And he did. So I had to wait for an hour to actually finally like realize the climax, the release of the climax. And ooh
Okay, Corey.
boy.
Corey, my man was sitting here edging himself.
Basically that's how it felt. That's legitimately how it felt. Was like I was edging, like I was so frustrated.
Brad, you said you were watching a lot of World War II stuff, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch Emperor?
No. No, that
Okay.
was one that was like I was going to get to, and then lost interest in the genre because
Okay.
I spent like I legitimately spent like 40 hours in like 2 days watching just World War II movies. I barely slept.
Yeah. It was a good movie. It gives a really great interview about what it was like at the very, very end after Japan surrendered. Um, it has a terrible IMDb score, terrible Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic score, and like I said earlier, the worse those scores get, the better the thing generally is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm a massive movie fan, and I'm not I'm the opposite of Jordan. It's like I am easily entertained just so long as there's like something going on in the movie. So I mean, I'll sit down and watch a terrible movie, and while it won't like register as like a it would barely register like in my memory, and the minute I turn it off, I can't remember what happens in the movie. But like, just so long as something's on, sometimes. But yeah, no. If you've Jordan, I think you would really like the Max Manus movie. It's based on a true story.
Maybe. Enemy at the Gate. That's another great World War II movie.
That one I saw for the first time like 4 months ago during
It's a good one.
quarantine. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's sort of campy, but like it's one of
Well,
the only
yeah.
movies. It's one of the only movies that like accurately depicts like what it was like, what the Battle of Stalingrad was actually like. But
Not entirely accurately, but it's pretty close. I'll give it
Oh,
that.
yeah,
I want to
the only
watch.
thing that sort of like that sort of ruined it for me was the ending with um was it Ray Fiennes or Joseph Fiennes? I think it was
I
Joseph
don't know.
Fiennes.
I don't know actor names, as we remember from the other day when I couldn't remember Keanu Reeves.
That's true.
The
Zach
Lord
was
and
giving you shit for
Savior.
that.
I've already gotten flamed for that one.
Yeah, but no, I think it's Joseph Fiennes plays the dude with like the glasses, like the propaganda officer and stuff like that, and like they're in that final like sniper's duel or whatever, and I
No.
just the ending the ending that ending sort of turned me off from the movie. It was just like this dude got cucked and was basically just like, let me die for you, bro. I mean, the movie itself is fantastic, and anybody who's a massive fan of like World War II and the history and stuff like that, it's a very good movie. But
Yeah.
I was just sitting there laughing at that. I was laughing at what was supposed to probably be like the emotional like climax of the movie, and there's my ass at like 2 a.m. laughing my balls off.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
But
Anyway, I believe that wraps up our podcast for today.
yeah, we
It's
got
nice.
we got way out of gaming.
Just a
Yeah.
nice short 1 hour, 18-minute podcast.
Yeah.
You know, much shorter than 4 hours
Yeah,
as
Yeah.
we hit the other day.
so for as going forward, for the listeners going forward, we're planning on doing like a long form podcast, probably like once every 2 weeks or so, and then these short ones in between when we can find the time. So
Yeah, with our schedules, it's kind of hard to find, 3 or more hours all together in one big chunk to do this. Because whenever you do those, you really want to kind of keep, train of thought and have a concrete plan going in, and not have to, you know, cut it up over the course of multiple days.
so yeah, I mean the biggest issue is just finding 4 hours where we're all free and have something to talk about. So
Yeah.
we're trying to get at least like we're probably going to try and do at least one or two of those a month. But
Yeah.
that being said,
Anyway,
a podcast of this length is going to be the one that's most common. So
yeah. Anyway, final thoughts, Corey.
Well, I do want to say we are gonna try and have another person here and there whenever he can find time.
yeah, our
Yeah,
friend
we will be
Zach.
having guests. We
Yeah,
will be having guests. It might not be just Zach either. We'll see. I'm gonna see who else would be interested.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
that being said, that wraps up this one. The BCJ, the Bard Circle Jerk Bonfire Talk, episode 2.
Oh, this is not episode 2. This is the Minicast, episode 1.
The
yeah,
Minicast, the BCJ Minicast Bonfire Talk, episode 1. Yeah.
Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed today's talk. Like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to flame us in the comments if that's what gets you
what?
off. or of course, just kind of leave us on the edge like Corey and give us make us wait an hour for the big reveal. Anyway, we will see you next time. We hope you've enjoyed your time here, and as always, come gather around the bonfire, stay warm, and listen to the ramblings of old men.